Hey, it's Nemo. Uh, I'm having some trouble with the Facebook technology, so I'm just gonna hit the record button on the video because I want to make a video, and I'll figure out how to get it online so that it can be seen if I decide that's what I'm gonna do with it. So, um, what I wanted to talk about today, although being it's time to talk about it, all of a sudden, my every voice in my head is telling me to shut up and to put it away and to not talk about it. So I'm going to try to defy those voices, and I'm going to talk to you today about Sad King John. And really, what I want to talk to you about is about self care, and especially now, as we are being confined to quarters. That's going to break down a lot of our social networks. It's going to break down a lot of our support networks. Um, those of us, especially who rely on other people um, to keep them, in some cases, happy and well adjusted. So it's gonna be a challenging time. So I uh, I understand what I think I understand what this is going to be like. Because so far it feels an awful lot like what it felt like a few years ago when I had an emotional crash and was turned into a shut-in. I couldn't leave the house. I was terrified. I was terrified of people. I was terrified of myself. I was terrified of losing control. Uh, I just couldn't leave the house. I went from being a very successful uh, person to someone who couldn't leave, and my whole world just overnight got really small. So, in order to make sense of that, in order to make sense of that journey, I wish I could just sit here and have this nice, cute little video that tells you all about all the things you need to know. But I've been trying to figure out how to start making videos about Sad King John for a very long time now, and I haven't been able to do it. And I think it's because it's hard to gain enough perspective to say, oh, I understand the story. I understand it well enough to know that there's a middle, beginning, and a beginning, middle, and end. I'm in the midst of the story. There's a million beginnings, middles, and ends. It's hard to pull one thing from the other. So I just have to jump in the middle. So, what is Sad King John? Sad King John is my inner child, just quite simply. It's really not that much more complicated than that. It's what we talk about. It's my feeling. It's the center of me, that which I value as myself. It is the feeling part of me, the one who cries. And as a result of that, that's why he's got that sad moniker. And I hope that as time goes on, I can let that sad part go and he can just be King John. And then he can give up his reign and he can just be John. But for now, he's Sad King John because my chronic depression and anxiety lead him to be sad quite frequently. So I refer to the self care part of me, the part of me that needs me to take care of him, as Sad King John, and then I'm Nemo Sum. I'm the what is I oh gosh, I don't remember his name, but the controlling child. They talk about a schism that gets created in especially in people who've been abused as children. And the schism is that you have this hurting, they call it the hurting child, and then the controlling child. And the controlling child wants to exert all the pressure and make everything happen. And so for me, Nemo has been the manifestation of the part of me that has to rise above it, that has to say, I don't, it doesn't matter that I'm hurting right now. I have to go forward. So Nemo is the one that meets people. Nemo is the one that's out on the microphone. Nemo is the one that's having the conversations. And I think it's significant that since my crash, most of the people who know me now know me as Nemo, because that's who I am, and that's nothing. There's nothing wrong with him, and he is a manifestation of me, and I love him for that. It's important to me, so I'm not trying to judge him and say that any of you have encountered a false me. I don't think that's the case. I think that I've had to break myself up a little bit. And I'm not alone in doing that by any stretch from what I'm reading, what I'm hearing, where the conversations that I'm having. So for me, I just named them, and I can tell you stories about them. So Nemo, the story goes that John, in a moment of despair, called himself the king of nobody, and that in this moment the universe for some reason was listening, and Nemo, which means in Latin no one, Nemo sum means I am no one, was caught by this. And because sad King John declared himself the king of nobody, then his sole subject is Nemo sum, and Nemo sum has to take care of him. So when Nemo is not out performing, which is what Nemo likes to do primarily, or having conversations, he is home trying to take care of sad King John, which can be, a lot of crying. It can be a lot of work. So I think as we move forward together through this isolation, I have found that other people, I have a friend that talks about her little bird. I have another friend that talks about her she. We have these selves that we have to take care of, and sometimes, especially for some of us, that self-care, even hygiene, can be challenging, even at my age. So I don't want, for those who are struggling, I want you to know that you're not alone. Those who are struggling with the idea of having to be by yourself, of being cut off from that social connection, that you're going to have to take care of yourself, and that is a frightening thing. That, I know that I'm going to have to take care of sad King John for the next, 30 days without much contact with the rest of the outside world. Now that depends. That's why I'm trying to make these videos. I'm trying, I think both Nemo and sad King John are working together to try to get these videos out so that we can stay connected, because both of us recognize the vitality of that connection. Sad King John needs his friends, needs to see the look of pride in his friends' faces when he performs. Sad King John needs to get out and sometimes be brave enough to play the piano and take his chances and sing. And Nemo needs the support. I mean, he needs to share the war stories and talk about how difficult it can be when it's not supposed to be hard to remember to shower. It's not supposed to be hard to go to the grocery store, but it is. So anyhow, so that's sad King John, and that's how I talk about. I say that sad King John looks exactly like me. He's just crying all the time, and I tried to get a tattoo to remember who I was, because sometimes I forget who I am. Am I Nemo? Am I sad King John? So I got this tattoo, and then because sad King John does everything I do, he got one exactly like it because he thought he was supposed to. Sometimes when I'm trying to look in the mirror and be honest with myself, he keeps jumping in the way and crying, and needing to be taken care of, and it's tough. So, yeah. So for those of you who are now confined to quarters with your sad king or queen, your little bird, your big bird, your raging tempest, your monster, your kitten, whatever you have inside of you that you are now going to have to take care of. I hope that we can start to build something that we can use to keep those connections alive so that we can continue to take care of those people, because we know that that is one of the most important tasks that we have. It's not easy, but I got to take care of Sad King John. So I hope you are all staying safe and happy, and that you're taking care of whatever person you have inside of you. Talk to you next time.